I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the murder for hire of law professor and loving father Dan Markel, killed by two hitmen from South Florida, allegedly hired by his ex-mother-in-law. Here's the story. Dan Markel, a celebrated law professor and loving father, was shot execution-style in his Tallahassee garage on July 18, 2014, in the middle of a vicious custody battle with his ex-wife, Wendi Adelson, who was trying to move their children to South Florida. Prosecutors say the real motive lay not with Wendi herself, but within her family. Charlie Adelson, her brother, and a wealthy Miami area dentist orchestrated a murder-for-hire plot to end Markel's resistance to relocation and assure full custody and control for his sister. In November of 2023, just days after Charlie was convicted of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation, Donna Adelson, his mother, and Dan Markel's former mother-in-law, was arrested at the Miami airport moments before boarding a flight to Vietnam. She now faces identical charges: first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation, accused of funding and coordinating the lethal plot rooted in vengeance and the control of Dan's children. Held without bond, her trial is now set to begin while the once elite Adelson family crumbles under public shock and courtroom exposure. You know, during the trial of Charlie Adelson, Donna's son, Wendy's brother, we were all watching it and we're listening in the evidence and like, wow, this almost sounds like a case against Donna Adelson. And at the time, she hadn't been charged. Well, shortly after that trial, she was charged. But I want to go back to Charlie's trial. Take a listen to the prosecutor here talking about Donna.
Donna is the overbearing matriarch who nags everyone to death about whatever it is that's currently on her. I call it the wheel. The wheel's turning all the time, right? And Wendi getting away from Dan Markel and moving to South Florida was number one on the wheel. Donna enlists the defendant to go in and fix it, to solve the problem.
Donna. So Charlie Adelson, in that case, in that trial, it was like, okay, Charlie Adelson, he's the one who connected with Katherine Magbanua, was sleeping with her. She was sleeping with Sigfredo. Sigfredo's best friends with the Latin King guy. And Katherine said, oh, yeah, I could get Sigfredo and his friend to take care of this for you. So there was that direct contact. So I understood the case, and I think the case against Charlie was very clear. And that brings us to the first question in our investigation. And it has to do with Donna and the upcoming trial. What evidence allegedly ties Donna to the murder for hire plot? Because that's going to be the focus of this trial. That's what they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Here to help answer that question, Joel Waldman. He is the host of the Surviving the Survivor podcast, which has been on this story from the beginning. Joel, great to see you. I want to begin, before we start chatting away here, by taking a look at a little bit of testimony from Charlie Adelson's trial, because as I said, as we watched that, there seemed to be a lot of evidence that could be used against Donna. Here, let's listen to some testimony about the checks that were written, some of the payments in this case.
Were all of the checks deposited by Katherine Magbanua?
They were.
Who were all the checks signed by?
Donna Adelson.
When was the first check issued from Adelson Institute to Katherine Magbanua?
The date on the checks was September 17th, 2014.
Okay, so that was just short of 1 day. I'm sorry, that was about 2 months from the murder of Dan Markel.
That's correct.
And how often did Katherine Magbanua receive checks from Adelson Institute after that?
She received 2 checks a month.
Until May of 2016?
That's correct.
So, Joel, you know, paying someone who doesn't work there, like that's, I saw it on a few episodes of The Sopranos, right? You have those no-show jobs that you get because you're connected. Katherine Magbanua, is there any connection? Did she have any background? Could it even be argued that she somehow, some way was working or doing work for the dental practice?
Short answer, absolutely not. And I got a really interesting photo sent to me just yesterday, and it is a free pack of dental floss from the Adelson Institute. You know, you go to the dentist, they give you like a little care package with toothpaste and some mouthwash, whatever it is. Well, the Adelsons gave you literally a pack of dental floss and some paper wrapping. So not the most generous in giving people. And now you're talking about a woman that they don't know, apparently, at least not outwardly. And Donna Adelson is cutting checks for $3,000 a month. It just doesn't add up at all. It's incriminating and damning evidence, and not just against Donna, in my opinion, but also against Harvey Adelson, her husband, who, you know, my mother's my co-host, as you know, Vinnie. She has said that Harvey Adelson is guilty from day one. But there is a mountain of evidence against Donna Adelson, and I probably talked to 10 to 15 criminal defense attorneys, a lot of them from Tallahassee, just over the last week or so. Across the board, they say a conviction in this case is coming. Now, there's no such thing as a slam dunk case. Something could go awry, you don't know, but the betting odds are definitely here, appearing to be a conviction for Donna Adelson.
Yeah, I think it's also a good jurisdiction for prosecutors, generally speaking. I think the jurors there are very receptive to the arguments made by prosecutors. Okay, let's talk about paella. Why don't we do that? And we'll begin by listening to Charlie Adelson when he was cross-examined.
Was paella the big birthday gift?
Yeah, I paid for the catering for the whole party.
Then 3 months later, on June 8th, just after midnight, you text her, quote, still working on Dad's birthday present. Was that in reference to the paella guy?
Possibly what I was also getting was a present. I mean, it's been 10 years, so I don't know exactly what I got him 10 years ago on his birthday.
And then at
what
1 a.m., I'm sorry, you weren't done?
No, or what I was thinking about getting him.
And then at 1 a.m., Mom texts you back, I know you'll, and I think she was in Israel, so that may account for the time, but she texts you, quote, I know you'll come through for me. Is that what she said?
That's what the text said, yeah.
Can we agree the timing of these texts is consistent with being sent the day after the killers got home from their failed June murder trip?
No, it's consistent with a few weeks before my dad's birthday and trying to figure out what we're going to get him.
All right, Joel, this is a big part, right? This is a big part of the prosecution's case in terms of trying to get the jury to understand that all this chatter about the birthday party for Harvey was really chatter about the murder for hire.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, I just want to shout out to the Markel family. I've become very close with them, and they're obviously the victims here as they're getting ready in 5 days to go back to trial. And it is just so incredibly difficult on them. And you contrast them with the Adelsons, who are just the most conniving bunch of people. And they're talking in code. You know, Vinnie, you know about the TV repairman, which is basically an alibi. They had the Geek Squad come over to Wendy's house in the morning so they could, you know, basically rely on that to say, no, I wasn't, you know, involved in any way. There was a TV repairman. And then you just mentioned the paella. So they were using all these code words, and I think you're going to get to it, but there is a bump, a so-called bump, where an FBI undercover confronts Donna, and she just falls for it, hook, line, and sinker, and goes back, calls Wendi. Wendi gets in touch with Charlie. Their guilt is almost so obvious that you question if you even need a trial. But this is America, Vinnie Politan, so you've got to have a trial. But again, the evidence is overwhelming, and we have not even gotten to Vietnam yet.
Yeah, well, she didn't get to Vietnam either. She tried to get to Vietnam with that one-way ticket. By the way, so much chatter about paella and hiring someone to make paella. It's not that difficult. It really is. I think it's easier than a root canal, I would think. Let's take a listen here to Charlie Adelson on cross-examination. Here we are talking about the money. You're going to hear from Charlie Adelson, then you're going to hear from the broker for this whole murder for hire deal, Katherine Magbanua, who's sleeping with Charlie, sleeping with one of the hitmen, and their whole take on where the money came from.
Did your parents drop off money to you on the night of the murder?
I never saw my parents there. You could look at our cell phones and you'll find that out, that we never saw each other.
I did look at the cell phones, and what is on there is your mom texts you, quote, outside your house. And
No, I mean, look at the tower information.
I think you testified that that meant she was just passing by on the roadway.
She was approaching the area, yeah, to see if I was home.
All right, and do you know what your response was to her text?
Yeah, like 20 or 30 minutes later, I said 10 minutes.
I'm 10 minutes out, is what you said.
I think I said 10 minutes, but yeah, I'm not home.
Doesn't that indicate you're going to meet them at your house in 10 minutes?
No, I told her to let me know when you're going to be in the area.
Was the money that Katherine Magbanua got damp?
I never gave her any money that was damp. The money I gave her came out of my safe.
Was it damp?
No, I took it out of my safe. I put it on the dresser. She put it in her purse.
I believe his parents or his mom might have washed the money.
You mean like physically washed the money?
Yes, ma'am.
And why do you think his mom did it?
Because he was always adamant about telling me he didn't have any money in his house. And he told me that his parents had just stopped by right before I got there. Okay. So all of a sudden he had money to put in the trunk of my car.
Also joining us right now, former homicide detective Chris McDonough, host of The Interview Room with Chris McDonough. Chris, great to see you. Glad we could connect. Do you think that prosecutors can connect the money, the cash, to Donna Adelson? Connecting to Charlie was easy. He admitted that he gave money. He said it was dry. She said it was wet. But how about getting Donna, connecting her to the cash?
Yeah, well, there was a couple of things that may do that, Vinny. Obviously, what Jules has talked about a few minutes ago, one of them is the bump, right, the phone call. And what happens is, what the feds did is they put together a search warrant, number one, and then they tapped the line of the phone that they were going to be interested in. And typically, you could have a van or you could have somebody sitting in a room somewhere, and then you send your agent in, you're undercover, and you start talking about the phone call. And you can do it over the phone, which we did here. That's called a control call. And they got her copping out, all kinds of conversations about the money, about $5,000. That the guy was, the agent was pretending he was going to extort her out of it. So, and then she started making all those phone calls. It was a chain reaction. It was a good play.
Chris, why do you think the money was wet?
That's a great question. That could be, this concept of, this going back to this code talk of some sort, then that, look, it's not real, it's blah, blah, blah. And so I don't have the exact answer for that, to be honest with you, in totality, but it's more along the lines of that code language potentially.
Chris McDonough, great to see you. Joel's going to stick around. Coming up next, what does Donna's post-murder behavior reveal?
Mrs. Adelson? How you doing? Just want to give you this. Listen. Good, don't be scared.
The matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested. Terrible.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markel.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind murder trial. Live coverage begins next week, only on Court TV.
The other thing I don't understand that my daughter could help me with, but we've been looking it up over and over. If things change, if there is extradition from Vietnam, because we've looked at all the places. I mean, I could go to Korea and China, but there's no extradition. But we're looking for places where there's no extradition.
Looking for places with no extradition. How's Donna Adelson speaking with people in her home, wherever she was, caught on an open line. Charlie Adelson was on the other side of that line, but then he hung up, but the recording kept going. And she got caught talking about going to Vietnam. Well, then she got arrested at the airport with that one-way ticket to the no extradition country of Vietnam, is brought into court, and then explains why.
So your testimony is that you weren't trying to go to Vietnam because you wouldn't be able to be extradited from there.
So my husband actually had said, you know, we've been to Vietnam before with friends. We were on vacation, and it really was like a place of peace. And so he said, if we go to a non-extradition country, then if the law enforcement decided that they wanted to arrest you or me, whatever, both, he said, we won't be sitting in a foreign prison waiting months to go back. We can buy a ticket and we can go home. And my understanding was that I could go home and I could turn myself in if that's what they wanted.
How about that? All this taking place, obviously, after the murders and after Charlie Adelson's trial. And it brings us to the next question in our investigation. What does Donna's post-murder behavior reveal? Not what she was doing before Dan Markel was killed, but what she did after he was murdered. Here to help with our investigation is creator and host of Grisly True Crime on YouTube, Gisela K, and former homicide prosecutor, co-host of Primetime Crime on YouTube, Jarrett Ferrantino. Great to see you both. All right, Gisela, what are your thoughts about her explanation for, you know, looking for a country to go to where they don't have extradition? It's so we can surrender on our own terms, I guess.
Wanted peace for what? She wanted to go there for peace, and she'd been there on holiday with friends, but for what? Peace from where you're escaping from on a one-way ticket. I mean, I just wasn't buying it. You started off with a big one. I mean, her post-murder actions, you know, from the call patterns to leaving the Tallahassee area with the grandkids, just everything she did is really not going to count in her favor in her upcoming trial.
All right, Jarrett, let's take a look at what everyone talks about when you talk about Donna Adelson. It was the undercover video known as the bump. You've got a member of law enforcement pretending to be a Latin king connected to one of the hitmen. Let's take a look at it.
Mrs. Adelson? How you doing? Just want to give you this. Listen. No, don't be scared. Listen, I just want to let you know that we know that your family has been taking care of Katie and her friend Tuco for quite some time after your problem up north has been resolved. And I want to let you know that my brother, he's incarcerated. He helped your family with this problem you guys had up north. And we want to make sure that he's going through some rough times. We want to make sure that you take care of what he's going through the way you're taking care of Katie and Tuco. Well, this will explain it. Thank you.
All right, Jarrett, what does Donna's behavior in this bump video reveal to you?
Her lack of response, Vinny, tells me she knows exactly what that man was talking about. And we know after the bump, she called Charlie Adelson, her son, her co-conspirator in this killing, and was speaking vaguely about their money and we need to meet. This is a great tool of law enforcement to get conspirators talking. And they videoed it, we heard it, and now this is a key piece of evidence, this post-murder conduct against Donna Adelson.
Yeah, I think this is something that jurors can sink their teeth into, right? Trying to understand how someone behaves after a murder. Let's take a listen now, Gisela, to what Jarrett was talking about, that phone call to Charlie after the bump.
Did someone write a letter to you or something?
I've got some paperwork hand delivered to me.
You're being sued?
No, that's what I thought it was, but I'm going to talk to you.
And what is it? Is there this health okay?
Yeah.
Does it involve me or other people?
Well, probably both of them.
What's that?
Probably the two of them. You copy that general way, you know what I'm talking about.
Unbelievable, Gisela, right? I mean, she's kind of like speaking in code, suspecting maybe they've got taps, you know, on the phone, so I've got to be really careful what I have to say, but I'm still going to say something instead of what the normal reaction would be to this bizarre moment of someone bumping into you, giving you an envelope.
Right. I mean, the first thing you would do is maybe call the police, but she calls Charlie and yeah, speaks in code, makes a reference to, you know, this TV is going to cost about $5, which is an interesting reference, you know, with the TV hitman joke that Charlie Adelson had made before. So that is a very odd thing, and speaking under her breath like that, trying to relay the message to him, but Charlie wasn't so great at reading the room. He's asking very obvious questions like, what do you mean? So it's very odd behavior from her and shows to me she's the most calculated of the bunch.
Jared, the other thing is, there's no fear. I mean, a member of their family was shot and killed, yet when someone approaches her, no fear, just let's have a conversation. Like, that would scare just about anyone.
Vinny, ironically, fear of the Latin kings, folk as I'm calling it, is her defense. Her defense is she paid because she was so afraid. Did she look afraid to you? Did she look like she skipped a beat? Called Charlie, she began to discuss making payment happen. So again, no fear, no calling the police. That is culpability. That's a post-murder guilty act.
All right, our guests are staying with us. Up next, why hasn't Wendi been charged? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the tragic death of loving father Dan Markel. He was in a bitter custody battle that went from family court to criminal court when his ex-brother-in-law and mother-in-law were charged with orchestrating a murder-for-hire plot. Here's the story. Dan Markel, a respected Florida State law professor, was gunned down in his driveway in 2014, an execution-style killing that stunned the academic and legal communities. As investigators peeled back the layers of his bitter custody battle, a disturbing family dynamic emerged. At the center were his ex-wife, Wendi Adelson, and her mother, Donna Adelson, whose deep involvement in Wendi's personal affairs raised suspicions. Prosecutors allege Donna orchestrated a murder-for-hire plot with her son, Charlie Adelson, to eliminate Dan and free Wendi to relocate with her children to South Florida. Prosecutors allege emails and secretly recorded conversations suggest Donna was the family matriarch, pulling the strings, pressuring Wendi, managing finances, and expressing chilling resentment towards Dan. Though Wendi has not been charged, her closeness to Donna and the family's coordinated actions have drawn sharp public scrutiny. Donna now faces charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation, a dramatic fall from grace that has shattered a once prominent South Florida family. It was interesting, as I mentioned, during Charlie Adelson's trial, there was a lot of talk about Donna Adelson. Charlie was convicted. Now we are getting ready for Donna Adelson's trial, and I believe a lot of people will begin to speak about Wendi Adelson. Court TV anchor Julia Janae took a look at what Wendi Adelson saw the day of the murder as she went for a drive.
What did Wendi Adelson see when she almost drove by a crime scene on July 18th of 2014? We're on Trescott Drive, where Dan Markel lived, and on the day that he was murdered, his ex-wife testified that she took this very street on her way to a liquor store before she was notified he'd been killed. Prosecutors allege that if she had no involvement, then the police cars and roadblock and crime scene tape on this street should have raised her alarm.
When you drove to ABC Liquor, you tried to go through Trescott. Is that fair to say?
It was blocked.
There are other ways to go to ABC Liquor, right? You could have gone down other roads.
I don't have the best sense of direction, so when I find a route, I just kind of keep using that route.
We retraced Wendy's route that day. She would have come from Centerville Road, a more commercial street, as she left Centerville to pass through Benton Hills on Trescott. It's a much more residential area with several caution signs. Then it takes us another 2.5 minutes after leaving Centerville Road to get close to Markel's house on Trescott. But Wendi testified to something different. She said she barely made it onto Trescott before she saw police.
I went to turn on Trescott Drive, but I saw that it had been blocked off by some tape, and so I just kept driving on Centerville. There was tape.
Yeah, and an officer was there.
I didn't see an officer, but I did see a car.
A law enforcement marked vehicle.
This is around where that police roadblock would have been, according to the officer on the scene's testimony. Wendi claims she couldn't see what was happening at Dan Markel's house from her car. It's the one you see there with the brick mailbox. It's about 2 houses from the speed bump sign, and the road winds out to where it's more visible to see the mailbox, but you can't make out exactly the house building because of the trees.
Basically, the investigators and the crime scene techs taking care of their portion. And the crime scene tech vehicles are marked police and have lights on them and stuff.
Would it have been obvious to someone approaching your position in a vehicle that there was activity, law enforcement activity going on at that residence?
It seems likely.
If that roadblock was set up where Officer Bill Brannon recalled 3 to 6 houses away from the scene, it appears emergency vehicles parked along this narrow road would have been visible and obvious to drivers. But the car where Markel was ambushed, it would have been out of sight.
I just assumed it was weather or maybe a tree fell.
Did you attempt to call Dan Markel when you encountered the roadblock?
No, I didn't think anything of it.
After Wendi Adelson was turned around at this location, she completed her stop at the store and then went to lunch with friends. It's there that an investigator interrupted that lunch to let her know the tragic news of her ex-husband's shooting.
Not even any curiosity. I mean, from the way Julia Janae showed us, where she drove by, you could see the house. And if there was a murder at the house, yeah, there's going to be police cars there. There's police activity at your ex's house where your children were staying. She didn't care. Brings us to the next question in our investigation tonight. And it's about Wendi Adelson. Why hasn't Wendi been charged, right? Charlie's been charged. Donna's been charged. Charlie's been convicted. But the beneficiary of this murder for hire arguably is her, because she got to take the kids and move to South Florida. All right, here to help answer that question, Joel Waltman, host of Surviving the Survivor podcast, in-depth coverage of all of this, and former homicide prosecutor, co-host of Primetime Crime on YouTube, Jarrett Ferrantino, is with us. Joel, why hasn't Wendi been charged?
Well, I think it's coming. I think it's going to happen after Donna's conviction. I think the betting odds are that Donna will be convicted. We just debated this on Surviving the Survivor. I do have to say, for full disclosure, that Nima Rahmani was a guest on my show. He nailed the Sean Diddy Combs verdict, and he, on my show just now, said he doesn't think the state's got enough. But devices were seized. Georgia Kappelman has personal animus, I think, against Wendi. She just doesn't like her. Georgia Kappelman's father, a lot of people don't know, was an FSU star quarterback. Georgia is prosecutor of the year. She wants to complete this circle with Wendi. And we were just watching old testimony, and she, in a line of questioning, essentially says, your brother right now is on trial for murder because these extorters wanted to come and kill your family, and you didn't know about this? You didn't know about this for, 10 plus years? And she says, well, I'm just finding out about this now. I can tell you that family is way too enmeshed for Wendi Adelson to have found out on the witness stand that these gang extorters were trying to kill her. She knew what was up, and I think karma is undefeated.
Yeah, that's the whole defense, right? They were being extorted for the money. All right, Jared, I want to play a little bit more of Wendy's testimony because I think it may play into this question we're trying to figure out here. Here's Wendi Adelson talking about the world's most famous joke ever here on Court TV.
Would you ever ask someone to do something like this?
Not in a million years.
Okay. Do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you?
No.
What good does it serve?
I mean, my brother, the one, his name is Charlie, the one I'm really close to, he makes a lot of jokes in bad taste, and it was a joke he made. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken, and I was talking to him about whether it made sense to pay to fix it or whether I should get a new one, and it was always his joke that, like, he knew Danny treated me badly, and it was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman, and it was cheaper to get you this TV, so instead I got you this TV. I mean, he would never.
Now, do you recall making a joke that buying her a TV was cheaper than hiring a hitman? Something to that effect.
Yeah, it was. Want me to say what?
Yeah, tell me what the joke was.
What happened was, when I gave her the TV, said it was a divorce present. This is the stupidest thing I ever said in my life. And I said, I was going to get you a hitman, but the TV set was a lot cheaper, so I went with the TV set instead. And I said it as a complete joke, and it was stupid.
A complete joke, but Dan Markel was murdered by two hitmen. Jared, could that be the reason why she hasn't been charged? Because they need her to testify about the joke, to help the case against Charlie, to help the case against Donna?
Absolutely, Vinny. I think that Wendi has been a key witness both with her truthful testimony and some of the not so truthful testimony she's put forth. She is at the center of the storm. She's the one who benefited here. They went after the hitman first. They went after the conduit second. They went after Charlie third. And now Donna. The last piece of the puzzle is Wendi. I watched Surviving the Survivor tonight. I respectfully disagree with Nima. This prosecutor has been laser focused moving through this family. Wendi is last, but they need her for these trials.
All right. Joel, if she's convicted, please invite Jared and me on the show, Surviving the Survivor, with Nima, and we'll have a Nima roast.
100%. I thank Jared for watching, and I especially thank him for not disagreeing with me. One really quick thing that we talked about on the show tonight, John Laura, who is Wendy's attorney, filed a motion to quash the defense subpoena. So Wendi wants immunity and is not willing to help her mother. So what's going on with the family right now? Are they cannibalizing and completely falling apart? It's my contention.
Wow. That is some development. All right. Big thanks. Joel Waldman, Surviving the Survivor, Jared Ferrantino, Primetime Crime on YouTube. Great to have you both here. We'll be speaking a lot as this trial gets underway. Still to come, why should anyone believe Katherine Magbanua's testimony?
Is that true?
No, ma'am, it was not.
Were you in the middle?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Vinnie Politan, welcome to Closing Arguments.
What's happening here?
It's unreal. Let me show you exactly what happened.
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. Weeknights at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
This is terrible. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The matriarch mastermind murder trial begins next week. Only on Court TV.
He got in the car with me and he asked me a question.
What was the question?
Do you know anybody that can harm someone?
And did you know anybody that could harm someone?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Who was that?
Sigfredo.
Crucial testimony in the prosecution and conviction of Charlie Adelson came from Katie Magbanua. She was sleeping with Charlie. She was also sleeping with Sigfredo Garcia, one of the hitmen. She brokered the deal. She's the one that put Charlie together with the killers to take out Dan Markel. Powerful testimony. But let's go in our little time machine, because here at Court TV, we keep, recordings of trials. And there was a previous trial in this case in 2019, the trial of Katherine Magbanua. And she testified in her own defense. This is when she was presumed innocent and claiming her innocence. Take a listen.
Do you have information that Charlie Adelson was involved in this?
Do I have information? I mean, based on everything that we've been seeing, but I don't have personal information.
Based on everything you've seen, do you think Charlie was involved in this?
Yes.
Do you think Charlie was lying to you?
Yes.
Did you have anything to do with the murder of Dan Markel?
No, ma'am.
Did you get the father of your children, Mr. Garcia, to commit a murder on behalf of Mr. Charlie Adelson?
No, ma'am.
That's the exact opposite. And it's all sworn testimony, which brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why should anyone believe Katherine Magbanua's testimony? 2019, I know nothing, I did nothing. Then after she gets convicted, all of a sudden, oh, yeah, I know exactly what happened here. Here to help with our investigation, creator and host of Grizzly True Crime on YouTube, Gisela Kay, and former prosecutor, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division agent, Tommy Pope. Great to have you both here. Tommy, this is shocking. Is it rare that someone, takes the oath, testifies to one thing in a trial, is then found guilty, and then prosecutors put her on the stand to say the exact opposite, and the jury, I guess, believes her?
Well, I think you have, times when people will give you the exact opposite, but normally it's a statement they gave, and then they get to trial and they say they didn't mean that, or they were coerced or something. This one to me is interesting because it's kind of the opposite, Vinnie. It's a case where she's now been convicted. She's in jail for the rest of her life. And so now she has nothing to gain by testifying. And so I think it actually adds an addition of reliability to it that she probably didn't have before. I was thinking when you were sizing them up, that was then, this is now. Well, then I was trying to save my skin. But now I just want to tell the truth. And I think she'll have some credibility in that regard. Now, anytime you have this many statements, it's ripe for cross-examination by whoever's doing whichever side needs it. But I think they're going to believe her in the end because I don't know what she's got to gain at this point. If unless there's some downward departure deal they're going to have to disclose. I don't see. I think her credibility is bolstered by being in prison the rest of her life.
Gisela, let's take a listen now to her testifying in Charlie Adelson's trial, talking about lying on the witness stand.
What was your defense when you were tried?
That I had nothing to do with it.
All right. That we got it right in reference to Charlie Adelson and we got it right in reference to the killers,
yes,
but you
ma'am.
weren't in the middle.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that true?
No, ma'am, it was not.
Were you in the middle?
Yes, ma'am, I was. I told you I lied in my first and second trial to save myself.
Ma'am, we've heard it. If you could just answer the questions. Did you lie?
Yes, sir.
You lied when you testified that you knew nothing about Wendy's divorce, Wendi Adelson's divorce.
Yes, sir.
You lied when you said you didn't pick up money from Charlie's house on July 18th.
Yes, sir.
So why tell the truth now?
I believe that the truth needed to come out now so that the family can get some type of closure.
Why didn't the truth need to come out last year or the year before or the year before that?
I was trying to defend myself.
You were trying to get off?
Yes, ma'am.
Gisela, what are your thoughts here? Do you believe her in her latest story and what she told this jury in Charlie Adelson's trial?
I do, because she's got nothing to lose. So between her testimonies from 2019 to 2022, denied everything. Damn, when she got convicted and sentenced to life without parole, already at Charlie Adelson's trial, to have nothing to lose. And then there's that first layer, I would say, of starting to admit to things. I think there's going to be more that she could potentially admit to. Already saying, yes, I was the middle person. Yes, I knew who the target was, Wendi Adelson's ex-husband. And then, yes, I knew that he was not going to just be harmed, he was going to be killed. Yes, I gave over the manila envelope. Actually, the plot started at a Halloween conversation in 2013. I mean, that was huge. There's like such a huge list for the shift that happened after she realized, oh my goodness, life without parole. Okay, let's throw them all under the bus then. So I'm looking forward to hearing what else she's got to say.
Tommy Pope, have you ever seen a case where someone's brokering a murder for hire and she's sleeping with both ends of the deal? The hitman and the person who's putting out the hit?
I've had some variations because that's normally how the pillow talk is normally when these conversations come up, you know. So, you know, just by the way, as you're smoking a cigarette, do you know anybody that would kill somebody? But I see the middle person working both ends. But I have never seen the diligence and prosecution that I've seen in this case. I know you talked about it earlier, but the work to get every single person in this family that was involved, much respect to the prosecution and the job they're doing. And I would have never thought it would have gone this far. And I think there's a decent chance that you'll see Donna convicted in the coming weeks.
And there she is right in the middle of it all. Gisela, do you think that if Katherine Magbanua had just said no to Charlie and said, I don't know anybody, do you think Dan Markel would be alive?
No. I think that the Adelsons were very determined. I mean, they tried other means. They tried to bribe Dan Markel. They tried to coerce him. They tried to, you know, threaten that they're going to raise his kids as Catholics, which would be offensive to him, you know, in his faith. So I think they tried so many things already, they would have found someone else. And Charlie Adelson already bragged about his, you know, gang ties. So I think, unfortunately not. That was their plan.
Yeah, Charlie Adelson liked to play the role, Tommy, as the world's toughest dentist. Like, don't mess with that. Like, he's like, you know, I'm a dentist, but, you know, I got a red sports car and I hang out in nightclubs and I sleep with shot girls. So I'm a different kind of dentist. You know, I'm a tough guy.
You better use that in prison.
That's for, and here's Charlie. That was a picture of Charlie and Katherine Magbanua, I guess, in better times. I just don't understand how either one of them got there. Like, I understand, like, Katherine Magbanua's the father of her children, hooked up with some bad guys, grew up with some bad guys, but she's got 2 kids at home. And you get wrapped up in all this. Now those kids growing up without a mom, without a dad there. Charlie Adelson's in prison. Dan Markel's children don't have a father. All these kids' lives ruined by these horrible, horrible people. But we'll see them back in court. Gisela K, Grizzly True Crime, thank you so much. Tommy Pope, great to catch up with you as well. The prosecution of Donna Adelson will be perhaps the most challenging yet for prosecutors. That's because she is seemingly one more step removed from the actual killings. Her son Charlie was really the one with direct contact. And you know what, folks? That's how it works with the mob. The boss never has direct contact with the ones doing the dirty work. The question is, will the jury believe Donna was the boss? I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.